Dun 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 dun. What's going on, dungeon dwellers? Welcome back to Dave's Dungeon. Hope you're all doing well. This Spooktober's off to a really good start. So welcome back. I'm so excited I'm messing up my intro. So once again, welcome back to Spooktober 2023. Doing my worst impression of the late great Buffett. Buffer? I need to remember. Anyway, today we're on the third day, number 3. And we're bringing you Shark Side of the Moon. Now, I know what you're thinking. Dave, are you serious with this one? Yeah, I really mean it. This is a Tubi original. You can find this one for free. And now, I know most of you have not seen this one. I mean it. Most of you have not ever put your eyes on this one. I can't say I've ever found it on anyone else's list. I found it by just stumbling across it, okay? And from what I understand, this film has very little, if any, press on it. And for good reason, because I don't even know if anybody of note was in it. I've got a list of people that I have MVPs for, but I don't know of anything else they've been in. And that may be a me problem, but we'll get into that in the gory details. But before we get too far off into it, I'll give you a little bit of the biographical information on it. This film was directed and written by Glenn Campbell and Tammy Klein. It was a Tubi original. It's 2022. So again, newer film. Probably haven't seen. On Tubi for free. So again, you shouldn't have any reason to not see it, but at the same time, you probably haven't. So without any further ado, and without any more gilding of the lily, let's get into the body count. We have one stock NASA launch footage intro. And I gotta say, it's so nice seeing those nostalgic launches of those big rockets from way back in the day. I mean, just huge rockets, Challenger-sized rockets just launching. It's real sweet intro. Only to find out that we're dealing with some top secret Soviets and their lab somewhere near Moscow that we're not supposed to know about, but somehow we do. We have some mad scientist hijinks with Sergey and Alyosha near the lasers. And I'm gonna go ahead and say, if it weren't for these hijinks, the whole movie wouldn't happen. So, promise you, there's a reason I mention it. And I gotta say, you know, if you're breeding biogenetic war machines that are also sharks, maybe don't use one specific type of bucket that they can use to diffuse your lasers. I'm just saying, maybe if the bucket can defeat your lasers, don't use that type of bucket. And you know, just to go even further, maybe don't screw around near the sharks and the laser defense grid. You know, mad scientists, that wasn't the smartest move for you to do. And then we get the alarm, and we get Russian sharks do 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 do, super sharks do 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 do, Russian sharks do 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 do, super soldier sharks. Yeah, and we're not talking about a handful. We're talking about an army's worth. We're talking, and we're not talking about just sharks. These are humans with sharks for heads and claws, and you get the picture. Can breathe on land. Super soldier sharks, okay? Really, you can't describe what's going on here Well, I'm going to do it in a second, so just hold on. One, it only takes one bucket to defeat the laser defense grid. Foo. One, 90% of the Street Sharks CGI movie is already done, because I think that's the best way to describe this movie. If they were to ever make a Street Sharks, the movie, this is 90% of the CGI budget already done. One all Russian super soldier sharks dream of is freedom in the deep blue sea. If you get that one, that's a little shark humor for you people who've ever watched shark horror movies. Deepest, bluest, my head is like a shark fin. If that didn't give it away, you got homework. Go. One, we need to get out of here quick to the spaceship. Because we can't escape the sharks, because once they get into the water, then they'll be unstoppable, quote. One scene with Sergey, our sort of hero. One scene with him early on where he's like, quote, and, how do I fly a Russian spaceship again? We got one last cigarette before we go out, like a total boss. I mean, just which either killed the sharks that were on the ground, or the sharks that got into the ship carried them off to the spaceship launch, which led us into the title card some like 20 minutes into the film. And then suddenly we're back in Florida at Space Mission Command, Florida Mission Command down in Florida, because of course we're going to launch spaceships from Florida. We get one convenient appendicitis and one alternate space commander, because of course there has to be a last minute swapperoo that really doesn't ever develop into any other plot line, because, you know, if we're throwing everything against the wall, we might as well. One, we're gonna finally get to the moon if this guy ever gets here on his motorcycle, because of course the alternate has to wear leathers and ride in on a motorcycle, because of course the alternate has to be alternate. Again, more shit we won't ever have to worry about after this point. One, let's launch a spaceship on, you know, basically no notice and without any further ado. What could go wrong? Nothing can go wrong. Hold that thought. One blank slate of astronauts on the tabula rasa, because I gotta say, my confidence levels going in weren't too big. They weren't too high. They weren't too large, because boo, 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 boo. Yeah, real tabula rasa crew we got going in here. I mean, make the Firefly look like they're MIT graduates. One little electromagnetic storm in space for never explained, no reason, don't understand why that's going on. But it definitely causes some problems. Followed by 1 degree adjustment in the ship's rotation and, oh no, it all went wrong. Let's do one level 1 diagnostic while we're crashing, because we've only got 95 seconds to impact. You know, really weird time frame of how long it's going to take to hit the how long it's going to take to hit the moon. But at the same time, we're going to do this really highly technical thing while we're doing it. One, hey, just restart the ship or we're going to crash. I mean land. I mean land, we're going to crash. One, we wrecked the ship, now what? Because of course we did. We got to the moon, but it's no good if we get there intact. We do, however, have 6 months of food, water, and oxygen, but that's not going to matter because we're not going to sit still long enough for that to ever take in any effect. Because while having 6 months of food, water, and oxygen would be good things to have, they're not going to be there that long. And honestly, they're really not interested in keeping themselves alive that long. Because immediately, I mean, the second they get there, they're going to go out and try to scavenge what they can from space junk, basically. They go on a scavenging, recon, and survival mission, you know, easy peasy, because we're gonna go out there and we're gonna get all these parts, and we're gonna come back and we're gonna fix the ship. And we're gonna take the ship's only mechanic with us, because of course we are. So, of course, the commander and company set out on the moon. And immediately things start to go wrong. I mean, immediately. Because, of course, they do. Wouldn't be much of a movie if it didn't. But, then we end up with did you see that Russian code in our ship computer for that one brief second? I'm sure that was nothing. Followed by a working moon rover, question mark, just out in the middle of nowhere because it's convenient. Followed by the weirdest plot hook I've ever seen that is probably the best thing I've ever seen. So here's the scene. Astronaut gets a nosebleed on the moon. There are sharks on the moon. Somehow, these sharks smelled blood through the airtight, pressurized suit and come after the guy. Just let it marinate. Nosebleed on the moon causes sharks to attack astronaut because it somehow smelled the blood through a pressurized suit. Right. That causes multiple sharks to swim through and burst through the surface of the moon and swim through its surface like it's water. Little did I know this was some sort of like prequel, sequel to sand sharks, ice sharks, and mountain sharks for ghost sharks as well. You know, they're swimming straight through the surface of the moon because they're giant humanoid sharks that can do that somehow. One, of course, there was why are there sharks on the moon? And who the hell are these two? Because we get our Russian characters. Because, of course, Sergei had to survive. Because, of course, Sergei did. One of obvious question of, did they just speak Russian? Yes, welcome to the moon. Sort of. The dialogue here is not Shakespeare. I promise you. It's worth getting through, but it ain't Shakespeare. One, after 40 years, we are going home. Yeah, we just need your help fixing our ship, and we can take you back. Because, you know, that should be no big deal. We didn't just encounter human-shark hybrids on the moon. Yeah, sure, we'll take you back. One, how are they breathing on the surface of the moon without suits. But then that's actually a plot point. I'm not actually asking that question. That's a plot point. We either all go to my ship or we get ambushed by sharks. Choice and plot. I mean, he clearly lays out what's going to happen either way. The sharks end up taking hostages. And, of course, they end up taking the mechanic. The one person you needed to get off the moon. Of course they take the mechanic hostage. Oh, no, Henry, we gotta go save Henry now. Trust me, this plot point won't be lost. I promise. Don't use the radio. It will lead them to us. Because electromagnetic frequency shit bothers them. That's why the ship and supposedly the waves and all that, it was their society dragging down the spaceship because of course it was, because they can somehow use it and somehow their technology isn't affected by it, because of course it is. One glimpse into the Queen Shark's plan, and of course it requires the human ship. Because of course it does. How else are we going to get the babies home? Hi, I am Shark Woman. What is your name? One sort of callback scene to an earlier one where algae ends up being the secret to the way of life on the moon. Because apparently both the sharks and the Russians use it. She's one of them, because of course she was. Half shark, half super soldier, half human. All Akula. Did the cosmonaut and the astronaut just become best friends over Elton John? Yep. One final explanation. We actually get an explanation for why there are hybrid sharks on the moon. And of course, it's Soviet proliferation. Henry, the most important man on the moon, making a deal with the shark princess. Because of course, the only man who can get anybody home is the man who can fix something. One final explanation about the why you can't use the radio with the, hey, it will lead the sharks directly to us and to your crew. So what does the commander do? She immediately uses the radio to tell the crew, don't use the radio. Brilliant! Genius! The B crew finally gets bored and goes, it's been too long. We have to go find them. But we were told to stay on the ship. No, let's screw what we were told to do. We got to go find them. And then we finally hear the end of the princess's plan. She plans to go back to Earth, rule it, and she's going to give the moon to the humans. Let them have the civilization. You humans that we're going to leave here, you restart your civilization here. We're going to go conquer Earth with our babies. That is, of course, if Henry will help them get into the ship. He holds out for a little while. That is until Scar takes a snack. Yeah, at one astronaut leg raw. Ouch. One nature finds a way callback quote inside the movie. No, it's not me making a riff. That's the movie making a quote. Callback riff. Talking about shark automatic parthenogenesis. It's a plot point within the movie you got to watch to find out if you haven't seen it already. Trust me, you're going to want to know about this point. It becomes important later. One lava city moon shark civilization, complete with downtown mall and school. Yeah, if you missed it, look again. There is an actual like shopping center and then what looks like a school. Go watch it, promise. Then we end up with a scene that is almost comical if it wasn't so like intense, where we have the biggest shark just moving fast as fuck, boy. I mean, just moving, smoothing. The B team finally gets their shit together and goes, hey, let's leave the ship. And immediately gets killed. They find an arm of somebody who had their arm bitten off earlier and just immediately get murdered. Because, of course, they start trying to use the radio and the blur comes out of nowhere. Yeah, remember that 6-month timer I gave you earlier? Yeah, it's now 6 hours, or we have to wait 4 weeks for the moon to rotate and our position to rotate enough for us to get back to Earth. And yeah, so remember that you have 6 hours now. Because of course the situation has to get worse, right? We get our first rule number 1. When we draw blood, we draw attention. Because, of course we do. They're sharks. But at the same time, it's a little late to be giving us this rule. Because immediately we get attacked by a big shark. And they don't hurt him. No. That would be the smart plot. The dumb plot that they go with is the shark bites himself. And bites like a part of his lip and he starts to bleed. And that signals the other sharks. So what do? We can't risk it. Stab the guy. Yeah, you need to see this film. 1, these are innocent children. No, these are fucking monsters conversation. And almost come to blows between 2 of the actors. 1, Sayla and Akula, twin sisters, shark sisters plot line that I did not see coming, but you know, it's Russian sharks on the moon. What are you gonna do? 1 released the big one. The big one? The big one. And of course you're going, is it the great white? No. Think nurse. Think nurse shark. Oh, back at the B plot, you end up finally getting the title card set of the movie where it's like, what was that? A shark on the moon? These sharks out of the moon. Haha, they finally said it. 1, we either stick together or we die scene, because everybody in this movie at some point decides, you know what, I should just kill everybody else. I don't really like anybody anymore. You know, because that's what we all normally do when we're in a panicking crisis situation. One Akula versus the big one. And I mean, it's a from downtown direct hit. 1, maybe we're too late. Well, maybe not. 1, Henry's gonna sacrifice himself to fix it because he gave away the ship's location. So we're gonna waste all the effort and sacrifice of going to rescue him by letting him sacrifice himself. What? Where are we going with this plot line? I don't know where Henry's plot line is going, but yeah, I'm here for it. 1 less light this candle. Henry sacrifice, including a torch. You'll see. I mean, man. This dude is on fire. One, everyone go hide and immediately get either killed or captured. One, Henri saves us again, only to get killed again. Double MacGuffin kill. You dirty rat. How could you, Henri? 2 deaths is too good for Henri. One, while everyone was screwing around, Sergei decided to set a perimeter of traps and mines to slow down the sharks, because of course he did. One, we have to get to our old Russian spaceship that still has fuel and still works somehow. Oh, algae again? One, kamikaze spaceship volcanic eruption, complete with sharks getting hooked in a nurse shark and the nurse shark getting jettisoned into the volcano. One, improbable ride home in an inflatable raft. And finally, one, maybe we shouldn't have trusted Akula after all, complete with shark babies. I have to give this film 3 skulls. Dave says it's a must-see to believe. I promise you, you have to. You have to see this film. MVPs go to Maxi Whitrack as Commander Nicole Tress. Ego Mikidis as Sergei. Tania Fox as Akula. And Natasha Gobskaya as Zarina Sela. Those are my MVPs for, oh my God, I don't even know who I would give even, I don't want to MVP the writer / director, because as much as I want to encourage this kind of behavior, no. Good try. Good try. Good try. I salute you. No, I'm just kidding. Shout outs to Glenn Campbell and Tammy Klein for writing and directing such a, I mean, fun and crazy wild shark movie that I think I will never see its like again. And look, the skulls I took off, they're of course for the sort of stiltedness of some of the dialogue, and this is a 2022 film, and when you see the CGI, you're gonna go, ooh, oh God, it is the unfinished, it's like 90% done Street Sharks. But it's 90% done Street Sharks. I mean, I don't know how to get you more excited about that. I mean, of course, the sort of danger of don't bring the alien back to Earth plot is there. That's, if you want more of that, go watch Alien with Ripley and Aliens with Ripley and, you know, every other don't bring the aliens home plot movie. But for me, this was about sharks. I jumped into this one because I was like, sharks on the moon? Little did I know, these are super soldier sharks, and this is some sort of Russian plot line. I didn't expect that, but at the same time, didn't detract. Oh, and I really gotta say, once you, it is a little slow at the start, and so that's sort of why the 2 skulls off. Those are my 2. Like, the 1 skull was like all the sort of silly gripes, and then the other one is, it gets a little slow, and I mean it's slow between, like, you could have cut like that whole alternate pilot part out. You could have cut most of the like rescuing Henri part out. I mean, I get that you want to rescue Henri, but him just telling about the ship and then him ended up getting away from them and showing up later would have been cooler. I'm just gonna say, you could have done like a double cross into the he gets away and saves them kind of plot line of redemption, but you didn't actually go for that in the end. It's just that's fine. You know, it's not a big deal. But what do I actually want to talk about? Not much. Not much of this film has much to kind of left to say about it other than go see it. It ain't gonna cost you anything, and you know, who doesn't want to see a really silly B movie? And that's sort of why I put it on the list. Is, you know, sometimes we take our horror seriously, and then sometimes we have fun with it, and sometimes it's good to see a horror film that isn't trying to take itself too seriously, is really just trying to deliver on a premise, is really just trying to have some fun in the meantime, and is really chewing on the scenery, quite literally. But that's going to do it for this review, Dungeon Dwellers. Thank you so much for joining me. I know there wasn't much for the gory details, but when you're dealing with a movie like Shark Side of the Moon, best not to leave too much to the imagination. But thank you for joining me. I hope you've enjoyed this review. If you did, make sure you leave a like and subscribe. It helps the channel and helps me know that you enjoy this content that I'm bringing to you. And that's how you show me your love and appreciation. And I really do see it and feel it. But I hope you'll join me on our next adventures, Dungeon Dwellers. But until next time, stay out the water. Dun, 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 dun.